Hey everybody, I'm Eddie Poole with Keller Williams Realty. You know I try to keep you up with things that are going on that I feel like you need to know about around Mount Juliet. Well, we're not in Mount Juliet today, but we're around Mount Juliet in Galveston. Actually, I'm here with my friend Teresa Schweinsberg, and Teresa's just written a book, and she's telling us about her experience of losing a child, right, Teresa?
Yes.
And so Teresa, you actually wrote this book originally 30 years ago, right?
Yes, I did. I wrote it after having miscarriage and then 11 years of infertility, and then a miraculous pregnancy, and then she was stillborn full term. And so the reason that I wrote the book actually is because when it happened, I didn't find anything anywhere. You know, back 30 years ago, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Amazon. So I made my way to several Christian bookstores, regular bookstores, libraries, and there's just nothing out there. And so I just kind of felt God telling me, you know, you be that person for someone else. So this is the original.
That's the original.
This is the original that I wrote 30 years ago.
Wow.
And typed it, I wrote it by hand actually, and then typed it on an electric typewriter, took it to my local printer, just a regular printer, and he printed these copies and did this little plastic ring binder, and I made 50 copies of the original.
And here's the new one,
That's the new
right?
one. That's the published one. So.
Wow. Well, Teresa, I can't imagine what it must have been like to be 11 years and then waiting 11 years, and then you must have had a lot of questions for God.
I did, and just spoke with another lady who from Denmark actually this morning, who is not a believer in God, and she was asking me, you know, how do you reconcile that to having all that happen, and then, you know, how does God allow bad things to happen basically to good people? And I was kind of sharing with her a lot of things that I could look back and see things that happened for the good in my life. And after this, I've had 30 years to kind of see where God had a plan that I really couldn't see.
Right.
And so many people's lives were changed by her being born but not even taking a breath. And so when you see all of those things happening, then you know that there's a plan. You know, God's plan is not to, you know, like she was asking me, murder a child basically. That's not what happened at all, you know. And sometimes you have to think about what man does to our environment, you know, that could affect people, you know, that could cause cancer or could cause things to happen that are not God's fault at all, but he takes the blame sometimes.
Sure. Well, I can't imagine, because I know my wife and I, we had four miscarriages, and I can't imagine going through 11 years and just getting your hopes up, and then but you're right, God doesn't waste a hurt.
He doesn't.
For those that love him. And was it Romans 8:28? All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. And so you've had opportunity to help people
yes.
through.
Yes, when I originally wrote this old copy, and like I said, I only had 50 copies made, and so I gave 25 to my doctor, who requested those to keep in his office for if any other woman went through pregnancy loss, he would hand it out. And then I had 24 that I passed out to friends and family, and it was amazing to me how those books just kept getting into more hands and more hands and more hands. And hearing back from ladies who had read it and said, you just have no idea, you know, how this helped me. And some of them came to Christ through reading the book and would call and have me pray with them. And then, you know, after 30 years, I was still getting requests for it, and I had none. I had this one that I kept in my safe, fireproof safe, and it was just, I think God was just prompting me, you know, it's not dying down. You still, you know, it's still needed. And I wasn't even sure if it was relevant anymore after 30 years. And so I just read it, and I really didn't do anything but edit a few spots and published it, and then wrote an epilogue to update everyone after the 30 years. And it's still getting response.
Wow, I bet.
I think there's still a need for it.
Yeah. I know it. God probably with you has been for me. God seems to bring people across my path that have the miscarriages and things like that, and it seems like I can relate to them a little bit better, and I know that you can, and so God's able to use that. And as far as the book goes, there was a book that I used to give out as pastor, and when I felt like people needed it, and it went out of print. So I'm so thankful to have another one that I can actually give to people. Yeah.
Thank you. The lady that spoke with me today from out of the country, she was saying that she's already read 2 or 3 books, but she said none of them were, she said, I felt like everyone was surface level, even though she doesn't believe in God. She said, I felt like you went deeper with your emotions and really just laid everything out there so that she said, I really related to it because you didn't hold back, when you were upset or the things that you felt, that you laid out all of your emotions, and that made me feel good because I was very raw and honest in the book.
Sure. So, and you can be honest with God. He's got big shoulders and he can take it. Right. And if anybody's going through some things that you don't understand, I just encourage you. It's okay to ask questions. Just don't give up. Don't just keep seeking and keep seeking Him. And I finally had to come to the conclusion that I'm never going to understand why, but I just have to trust Him because I know He loves me. Right. That's faith. Yeah. Faith, when you really realize what faith is, it's trusting and believing, even though you may not understand, you still, trust God that He knows, even when you don't. So Teresa, you have one child that was born after Cannan, right? Before. Oh. He was in that 11 years of infertility. But actually, his is a story as well, because even after the miscarriage and then 3 years of infertility, then I got pregnant and went to the doctor, and I had a mass which they thought was malignant, encasing the uterus, and they had pretty much told me to come back in 4 weeks and they were going to decide how to handle it. But basically I was going to have a hysterectomy, lose the baby. They had to save my life first, and we were praying, and when we went back in 4 weeks, there was no mass. I was totally healed, and that's my son Micah. That's awesome. And then 8 years after that of more infertility, trying to have a sibling for him. Right. And then the full term stillbirth. So. Wow. And Micah's doing well. He's a musician, played for the Crab Family, and then Diamond Rio now. And, and the thing I love about Micah is he's got a platform, but he uses it for God. He does. And he led someone to Christ at a concert in Texas a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So, yes. Wow. Well, Teresa, I appreciate you taking time to talk to us. And I want to encourage you, how do they get the book? It's available on Amazon. It's called Cannan Summer, A Life Unlived. And it's also available on my website, teresasauthorpage.com. So either way. And your daughter's name is Cannan. Cannan Summer. Cannan Summer. So check it. So check out the book, and I encourage you, just like me, have some on hand. Where if you find somebody, if the Lord leads you to give it to somebody that's struggling with miscarriage or loss of a child, maybe it would help them a little bit. And I'm always grateful to hear back from someone that, if it did help, or other ways that I can help through the book. So. Right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm Eddie with the Eddie Pool team at Keller Williams Realty, and we love to lead people home, so give us a call.